Good afternoon. My name is Chris Calabrese. I am a board member of the Don Bosco Worker Center. I also work for Communication Workers Local 1103 here in Westchester, New York. It's fitting that we're having this press conference today, 3 years to the week where we launched a collaborative campaign between CWA and the Don Bosco Worker Center called No Pay, No Way. It was a campaign to help bring awareness to wage theft, especially among low-wage workers here in Portchester. Today we have representatives from the Westchester Labor Alliance, which is a coalition of 5 Westchester-based nonprofit worker centers who serve and organize low-wage workers in the immigrant worker community. So we're going to hear from each of them, and then we will take any questions on an individual or group basis afterwards. So we'll start off first with Gonzalo Cruz, who's going to talk about the latest wage theft case that we have.
Good afternoon. My name is Gonzalo Cruz. I'm working for Don Bosco Workers. It's a non-profit organization based in Portchester. So we got a lot of cases with bad contractors or bad players. They don't pay to workers, even 1 day or weeks, or sometimes they give you a bound check. Like this company here is represent the bad contractors. So today we are announced we don't tolerate this wage staff in Westchester because they affect our communities too. Because when they stolen the wages, they don't pay the rent, the workers. They be in trouble. They need to buy food. They need to contribute to the community. So when the people, they don't pay workers, they affect our communities too. So we are support these workers for like 6 months. The general office, they working in this case. Finally, last week they arrested these 2 people. There is a bad contractor. So we are glad that this is happening. We need to reinforce our laws and protect the workers and protect the workers' rights too. So we went in, and also we got another group from New Rochelle. They received bound checks too. So that's why we try to do this press conference to announce the people. If you got any bound checks or any of these people, they hire you and they don't pay you, they can come to our worker center. We got worker centers in Mamaroneck, New Rochelle, Yonkers, Stamford, Monkisco, and Portchester. And also we got a clinic here in Hudson Valley Justice Center. So we got some of the bound checks. You got the bound checks? Okay. So this is one of the bound checks for this company. They give the workers. So we got a lot of bound checks for this company. So please, all of the people, if they get one of these bound checks, please come to the worker center and tell we are active with this bad company. Thank you. Gracias. Estamos aquí para hacer esta rueda de prensa para decir cómo nos afecta el robo de salario en nuestras comunidades. Estas compañías que están robando los salarios a los trabajadores, no nada más están robándoles a ellos, ¿verdad? Nos están haciendo que nos atrasemos con pagos de rentas, con comida, ¿verdad? Y así necesitamos más servicios. Por eso estamos hoy aquí, para hacerles un llamado a las personas que han trabajado con esta compañía, que denuncien en los centros de trabajo que están en Mamaroneck, en New Rochelle, Yonkers, en Monkisco y en Portchester, para que vengan y denuncien. Este caso fue llevado por algunos meses por el procurador. La semana pasada fueron arrestados estos 2 personas, o estos malos contratistas. Queremos que si ustedes tienen más cheques sin fondos y están recibiendo este robo de salario, por favor que vengan a las organizaciones locales a denunciar. Gracias.
So obviously, when you have a bad actor like J&D Painting, we're currently helping out 2 or 3 victims? 6 victims. We believe that there's probably many more victims out there of J&D Painting who are afraid to come forward for fear of retribution. And so that's part of the reason that we're having this press conference, is to let other possible victims know that there is an avenue for them to get help, and it's safe and we're very effective. So next person who'd like to speak is Nancy Fernandez from the Community Resource Center.
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy Fernandez and I'm here from the Community Resource Center. I'm a worker center case manager and I'm here to support Gonzalo, because we all in Westchester area, we all facing the same problems. We all have wage theft and we want your support to stop these bad contractors. Here with my colleagues, Rob, Janet from Junkers, we're here to stop these bad contractors, to help us and to help the employees to get paid. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you. Muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Mi nombre es Nancy Fernández del Community Resource Center. Yo soy trabajadora de casos en el centro de Mamaroneck. Yo estoy aquí dando mi soporte para Gonzalo, porque nosotros en las organizaciones en Westchester tenemos el mismo problema. Queremos parar estos malos contratistas, queremos que paren sus abusos, queremos que les paguen a los trabajadores por su trabajo. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí.
So processing wage theft claims is a very lengthy process. It's not always an easy process. It's not always a successful process, but many times it is. But it's also a reactive way of taking care of this problem. And so we're going to talk about some of the proactive ways that we hope to take care of this problem going forward. And Robert McCrana from the Hudson Valley Justice Center is going to talk a little bit about that now.
Good morning. My name is Rob McCrana. I'm an attorney and I serve as the executive director of the Hudson Valley Justice Center. Hudson Valley Justice Center is a nonprofit public interest law office, and we are currently partnered with the Westchester Labor Alliance, so the 5 worker centers throughout Westchester County, including Don Bosco here in Portchester, that are very actively engaged in combating wage theft. As legal counsel to the Westchester Labor Alliance, our office provides free legal assistance to individuals at these sites throughout the county. We provide legal representation in administrative and court proceedings. We sue employers who don't comply with wage and hour laws, and we help workers along with our partners at Allianza to recoup stolen wages and to address the failure of employers to pay minimum wages and overtime wages. As Chris said, that work that the Justice Center and Allianza does to help individual workers and groups of workers in these cases is important, but it's reactive, right? It's responding once wage theft has occurred. And what we want to make sure is included in the message today is the dire need for better policies to address wage theft in a systemic way. And I'm just going to point out a few examples of what we can do as residents of Westchester, what we can do collectively to put an end to wage theft. One is license revocation. For licensed contractors that violate the law, it's imperative that they are no longer allowed to operate with their licenses, right? They've got to play by the rules just like everyone else. Westchester County needs a license revocation law, and Alianza Laboral, the Westchester Labor Alliance, has been advocating for that, and we're hopeful that in this coming year that'll become a reality here. It's an important tool to combat wage theft. Another policy item is what's called the SWEAT legislation, the SWEAT bill, which has been advanced in Albany now for 2 legislative cycles, and we're hopeful again that this coming year it'll become a reality. What this is about is, I think as many of you know, is that workers who are cheated out of their wages, they can go to court, they can oftentimes go to small claims court, and they can get a judgment. But what's a judgment from court? It's a piece of paper, right? And it can be very, very difficult to enforce those judgments for workers that actually get what they've earned to get their wages. The SWEAT legislation that's been proposed in Albany would make it much easier for low-wage immigrant workers to actually enforce judgments that we obtain in court. And finally, these are laws that are on the books, and there are governmental agencies and offices that are charged with enforcing our wage and hour laws, right? Our public resources go to support that work, and it's important that those resources are increased and that governmental attention is paid to these issues. This case today is a really great example of criminal prosecution, which is also appropriate in some wage theft cases, and we applaud the Attorney General for doing this, but we also need the Department of Labor to step up, because the reality is most wage theft cases are filed with the Department of Labor, and there aren't enough resources there, and the cases aren't expedited the way they should be. So we're calling on the state of New York to increase resources to the Department of Labor and improve the processing of wage theft claims. And finally, access to the courts, both language access and form-based processes for workers to be able to enforce their right and to recoup their earned but unpaid wages. These are all really important ways in which we can, again, put an end to wage theft, which is unfortunately an epidemic here in Westchester and throughout the state. Thank you.
Next up is Janet Hernandez from Catholic Charities. Please sing.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Janet Hernandez from Catholic Charity. I want to say something. I want to say all the workers, not only the construction workers, not only the landscaping workers. I want to say the restaurant workers, car wash workers, all the workers in Westchester County, they are not alone. They have 5 organizations, want to protect the workers, want to fight for their rights. Well, that's why we are here. We are working for the justice cases. Quisiera decirles a todos los trabajadores del condado de Westchester, no solo de construcción, de jardinería, de restaurantes, que no están solos, que tienen 5 organizaciones que están dispuestas a luchar por sus derechos y a protegerlos. Gracias.
So before we open up for questions to any of the panel, I'd just like to acknowledge that Tom Kistner, president of the Portchester chapter of the NAACP, is here to support, as well as other organizations like the Sustainable Portchester Alliance, and anyone else who came to support us. We thank you for sharing your support with us. Are there any questions for anyone on the panel?
How rampant is wage theft? Any way to quantify it? Do you know how many cases are going through the courts?
I mean, it's really hard to quantify how many wage theft cases there are, how many wage theft instances there are, because so much of it goes untold. People don't step forward. A lot of times they eat it. And usually when cases get to us, it's sort of like the straw that broke the camel's back, is that they just couldn't take it anymore. So it's rampant because nobody on the panel is short on work when it comes to wage theft. It's continuous, it's pretty widespread, especially in the immigrant community, where employers, think that they can get away with it, and there's no punitive measures to really stop it.
So what can workers do in order to prevent it? I mean, not take checks? I mean, what can they do other than after the
One of the first things they can do is not get hired off the corner. It's like we encourage workers to get hired through a worker center. When someone comes to a worker center and they meet here and they get hired, we vet the employers and the contractors. That's not to say that from time to time we don't have problems, but the rate of, when someone gets hired through a worker center, we have the contractor's name, we have the contractor's contact, we have the contractor's address. So the amount of cases of wage theft through getting hired from a worker center as opposed to getting hired off the corner is significantly reduced.
We don't have to wait until something happens, you know? Okay. We don't have to wait until something happens. We have to be constant campaign that people, they get paid. This was America, you know, they used to pay fairly, and that's why they circulate the money. Now the economy is going down because all these things, they're not paying, they're hiring workers for 4 hours, and nonsense. It should be a campaign constantly. It should be a committee or something. You know? That's what
well, all the organizations do have ongoing campaigns, and as Robert eloquently said, is that this is the reason why legislation needs to be passed in the county to help protect these workers, because as he said, you can get a judgment, and if there's no way to enforce that judgment, then what stops a contractor from doing it over and over again? And that's why we want legislation.
Why hasn't legislation been passed yet?
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, there's factions on the other side who have lots more money than nonprofits do that can lobby against passage of laws such as this. And, it's the classic David versus Goliath battle that we endure every day.
Somebody mentioned that this is an epidemic. Is it getting worse? Is there any evidence that the number of incidents are increasing?
Can someone else answer that question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the answer, yeah. Now with this administration we got, a lot of people, they take advantage. They use as an immigrant. They say like the immigrants, they don't have rights. So one of the examples, in the small claims, you got a piece of paper. You win the case, but you never get your money. There is a long process. So we got this Manuel Shawai. He's a resident for Westchester, and he don't pay to the workers. And they hire workers in the corner. And we got the judgment, but we don't get the money for the worker. So it's a long process. A lot of people, we receive a text message for the bad contractors, and they give you bound checks. Like they say, like, oh, you never get the money back. So we got worse. So and most of the people, they stay in the corners, because in the worker center we take the information for the contractors. We take the license plate, the phone number, and the address where they work.
I just wanted to add a little bit of what we do at the communities of the Alliance and our centers. What we do is we try to have a monthly Know Your Rights meeting for the workers to know what to do in case and how to prevent it, like take their information, because sometimes that is why they get they stolen their wages, because they said no, they don't know their rights. So that's what we are trying to do.
Besides the contractors, are there any other sectors of the economy where you're seeing this happening?
Yeah, restaurant workers, service workers, construction, landscaping. We just processed a claim that was 3 years in the making for Alyssa's Grocery right here in Westchester, where workers were robbed of $47,000, I think it was, and we finally got them all their checks, which is a major victory. To answer the question about do we think it's getting worse, I will say this. We've had 2 cases now and 2 arrests that Attorney General Schneiderman's office has done. And I would say that it's bad enough that 10 years ago you'd be hard-pressed to find any cases prosecuted by the Attorney General of the state of wage theft. And there are other cases that are being prosecuted around the state besides Westchester. So I would say that people are taking notice that this is an epidemic. Anything else?
level legislation you're talking about? County level or
State level, but at the county level, again, one thing that Westchester County could do is pass a license revocation bill to make sure that contractors who break the law aren't allowed to operate with licenses.
So I'm going to introduce Dr. Ann Heekin. She's the president of Don Bosco Worker Centers and has been instrumental.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so you just gave me this opportunity to, and this is another project of the Alianza that we've been working for the past year. So we've actually have made a lot of progress in a short amount of time in working with county legislators on a new piece of legislation to amend the current home improvement licensing laws at the county level. We've been very fortunate to have the legal services of National Employment Law Project, who are among the leading employment lawyers in the country. And we, as of this past Monday, agreed to a final draft of the revised bill. And what the revision will do is it'll take a very good licensing law that has been constructed around consumer protection, right? So if you are a homeowner and you hire J&D and they don't perform the services that you are billed for, or they don't perform the services in the contract that you signed with them, then you can, go to the county, present your evidence, and that license can be suspended or revoked for that contractor. So what we've done is we've just opened that bill up to include a component that now says that in addition to fraudulent practices with the consumer, with the homeowner, that if workers are not paid or not paid according to whatever the contractual rate was, that there will be an opportunity for that worker and whoever is representing that worker to appeal to the county for the suspension or revocation of that contractor's license. So we're very, very proud of the work of the Alianza. We're very grateful to the help, for the help of National Employment Law Project, because obviously we don't have that expertise, but it is an indication of what we can do when we come together as 5 centers and focus on a couple of key areas of reform that will improve the lives of poor workers in our county, that progress can be made. Thank you very much.